welcome you all in this session. Myself, Assistant Professor Ripa Gupta from LJ School of Law. Today I am going to take the subject of law of torts, in which we are going to discuss vicarious liability. Now, what is vicarious liability? In very general sense, it is about the relationship between employer and employee. Sometimes employer is liable for the employee's conduct. So this is all about vicarious liability, when employer is liable, when employer is not liable. This will all will covered under this topics. So let us start with the topic with the introduction part. So it says that generally a man is liable for the wrong committed by him, but there are certain situations where you are liable for the conduct of the another person. Vicarious means delegate. So when you delegate your work to someone and that someone or that person committed certain wrongs, you are liable for the same conduct because you have delegated this work to him. So that is vicarious liability. So when anyone delegate work to another person and that person commits certain wrong thing, that person who delegates is liable. That is vicarious liability. Now vicarious liability has two concepts, old concept and modern view. In old view there are two maxims. First is qui facet per allem facet per se, which means you are liable for the conduct that you have delegated to someone. That means if you are liable for own conduct even that is not committed by you. And second is respondent superior, which means the superior will be respondent for the conduct of the inferior or the employees. So here in the old view it strictly says that whenever anyone delegates the work to another person, the person who delegates is liable or the person who is superior is liable. So in old view it is a very stringent view, it is a rigid view that the person who is delegate or the person who is superior is liable for the conduct of the inferior or the person to whom he is delegate. So in the old view the judges say that it is a very rigid view, we need to change this view. So they have accepted the new view that is called modern view. In modern view, judges take this concept as very practical, and practically they connect it with the social security, that if I hire or I delegate my work to another, I have some social security with him that I may suffer loss or profit because of his act. So I will be liable for his act. So they term the view social security is attached to the vicarious liability in the modern view. So in that they have actually defined two ways to identify when employer is liable or when employer consented for his conduct. So in that first is by ratification. Ratification, that means you consented by the work done by the another person. You ratify that work. So in that there are four situations when you can ratify the work. So first is the person who ratifies the act must have full knowledge of that act. Means the person who ratifies the act of the another, he must have the full knowledge of the act, not partial knowledge can be suffice to prove that he agrees to it. He agrees to the full fact that he had committed certain wrongs or not. If he consented to full or he has full knowledge of the act and then he ratifies the act, it can be termed as a ratification. Second is only such act can be ratified which are done at the time of behalf of the principal. Only such act can be ratified by the principal which are done or on behalf of the principal at that time, that he has done something in course of employment or by the consent of the principal, or at the same time when the principal had delegate that work to him. So he must have done that act at particular time when principal agrees to the particular act. Third is only lawful acts can be ratified. So only lawful acts can be ratified means the act must be legal, it must be lawful act. No unlawful act can be ratified. So if you are ratifying your act of kind of kidnapping or rape or abduction, any criminal, it is not lawful. So only lawful act can be ratified. And the last is ratification must be expressed. It must be expressed by words, oral or written. So ratification must be expressed. Another aspect is by spatial relationship. that vicarious liability may arises to spiritual relationship. For example, master and servant. Second, principal and agent. Third is firm and its partners. So here, one became the principal. Second, the agent. That is, one will be the master or servant, principal or agent, firm or partners. They are liable for their own the conduct of the servants, agents, or the partners. So they have the relationship of vicarious liability. So now we understand this relationship in detail. And master and servant, again there's a relationship between the master and servant, who where master is liable for the act of servant. So there is a question, who is servant? So there are two views in the question mark, who is servant, traditional view and modern view. In traditional view, there is a test of control which says that who can be a servant. The test of control says there are four aspects where a person can be a servant. So first aspect says that the power of master to select the servant, where a master has full independence to select his own servant. Second is the power to pay wages and the remuneration. So master can pay any kind of remuneration or wages to his servant. He is independent for that. Third is master's right to control in the matter of doing work of the servant. So here says that full control over his servant. So master can control the act of his servant or the method of doing act of his servant. The last is master's right to suspend and dismiss the servant. So last is when a master can suspend or dismiss his servant. So this is called test of control, but there are two opinion over here. First is servant, second is independent contractor. So contract of service and contract for service. Contract of service means servant and contract for service means independent contractor. I'll take examples of BCCI and IPL. So BCCI who hires the cricketers for the cricket match of who represent India. So for BCCI cricketers are contract of service, because according to their order they have to play the matches, they will select them, they will dismiss them, and they pay remuneration for the same thing. They can send them anywhere they want to send them. So BCCI has full control over the cricketers. Same way IPL can hire the cricketers for particular series or match or any season. They paid them, but they are free to go anywhere else to play the cricket match, or they can play even for their own team if even though IPL is going there. So they cannot have full control over there because they are independent contractor. So contract of service means servant, and contract for service means independent contractor, where you don't have full control or through the method of doing the work. So the contract of service refers to servant, and contract for service refers to independent contractor. Second is modern view. In modern view, apart from control, they added three things in it. So first is control, second is ownership of tools, third is chance of profit, and last is risk of loss. So that means not only control but other aspects can be joined with the employer-employee relationships, where the employer may give ownership of tools for working. There may be a chance of profit or risk of loss. So there is, apart from control, there are many other aspects are linked with this relationship. So in the case of Silver Jubilee Tailoring House versus Chief Inspector of Shops and Establishments, Supreme Court said that by after reading so many judgments from the English court, it said that yes, now in today's era, control is not only the phenomenon where you can rely on it whether that person is servant or not. Contract of service and contract for service depends not only on the aspect of control but many others. So yes, control can be a very important aspect, but there are many other aspects which can be considered to consider any person as a servant. So for example, when not only the control, but for example, the control may be differ from different types of business. So this cannot be any concluded aspect that control can be there. Depending on the business to business, it may change. So we cannot just rely on the control, but we should see the other aspects of the relationship before declaring them whether that for the conduct of the second person, the first person is liable or not. In the case of Bharat Singh versus Abdul Rahman, in this case, the Union of India was prosecute because of the conduct of the BSF's member, his driver. Because of his negligence in driving, the Union of India was prosecuted under the law of torts. But Union of India said that we are not liable because we cannot control the driving of a driver. But the Supreme Court said that if the person is doing something under the course of business or under the course of his employment, the employer can we have a control on his act. So here Union of India is liable for the negligence driving of the BSF's driver, because he was under the employment, he was doing something in the course of employment or during the employment hours. So for his negligence, Union of India is liable. Now we'll take the examples of different types of profession. First is hospital staff. So relating to hospital staff, court will often concern who can be the servant for hospital staff, because that can be a outside professionals who came only for the certain surgeries, whether they are servant or not, whether they are liable or not. So hospital staff has always been a concern for the courts. But after so much of concern and studies, they have made it clear that radiographers, house surgeons, assistant medical officers, and even the anesthesists are liable for their negligence, even they are independent from the hospital staff. So full hospital staff, or who are the hospital staff who are working with the hospital, and the persons who came over there for particular work can be termed as a hospital staff. The case of Cassidy versus Ministry of Health, in this case they have held house surgeon for negligence of his on his part, and termed that every person who is there working for the hospital, in the hospital, or operate any person, everyone will be liable for the negligence. The case of Srimati Kalavati, state of Andhra Pradesh, the state government hospitals were liable for the negligence. So now the state government hospitals also come under the purview of negligence. If they commit any wrong or negligence on their part, they are liable for the tortious liability. In the last case, A.V. Janki Amma, Union of India. In this case, even the military hospital held liable for the negligence of their conduct. So now in this, they have said that any person in the hospital who are doing their job, if they negligent on their part, they are liable for the act. So now there are different kind of services where the person can be a servant of the another person. So first is gratuitous or temporary services. So for example, I gave my car to my friend for driving. In that situation, I'll be the master, he'll be my servant. So I'll be liable for his conduct. Second is lending a servant. If I send my servant to any other person, and for particular in that particular condition, that person will be liable for his conduct if he is working under his organization or his supervision. So even he is not his servant, but he is working for him, that person is liable for his conduct. Third is lending a chattel. When you gave your vehicle to another person or any kind of things that another person under your supervision, under your control, you are liable for the conduct of the another. Then another is the course of employment. When any person is doing wrongful act and authorized by you because it was under the course of employment, when he does an act in a wrongful manner and you authorize the same because he was doing something in the course of employment, then he become your servant. Then the course of employment act done in wrongful manner. So if a driver of a truck drive rashly and by negligently and he met with an accident, in that situation the owner of a truck will be liable because he is the master of that particular driver. Then second is authorized limits of time and place. It says that the servant is liable during the course of his employment specified time and place. So if I am doing working more than the working hours, so for example my working hours is fixed to 10 to 6 and I am doing work from till 8 or 9, but if I am doing it in the course of employment, I will be termed as a servant only. So if you are doing something on your business place and exceeding time, even though you are servant of the master, but if you are coming on that place on holiday, without permission of your master, he will not be liable for your conduct. And the last is during the course of employment, if servant is on the tour and if he is doing something negligent on his tour, the master will be liable. So if for example A has been hired for the whole day for look after the horse and his cart, then he went away 1.5 kilometer with the horse and cart for his lunch. So and in that time horse ran away and destroy certain things. So in this situation, master will be liable for the conduct of the servant. So even though the servant is in a day tour, in the course of employment, the master will be liable. So we have discussed a vicarious liability, which says that when employer is liable for the employee's conduct, we can say that there are two things that should be suffice, that whether the master is liable or not. First is control, second is under the course of employment, under the observation or the course of employment from the employer. So in this situation, employer is liable for the employee's conduct. Thank you.